Well, hello again, Jay here, but then you already know that. Welcome back to my channel. Well, this is going to be an interesting one. It's not today, okay? I'm going upon reflection. I've actually done a week's worth of radiation and 1 day's worth of chemo so far. It started last Monday. Today is Sunday. Tomorrow is going to be another day of chemo and radiation. But I want to walk you through this process. I want to teach you what it's like to get radiation and what it's like to get chemo. So I'm going to close my eyes and walk through that process as I remember it, and then I'm going to take the pictures that I have and intersperse those with my memory as they occur. Okay, so I start by getting to the Proton Therapy Center. I'm greeted by this wonderful woman whose name I cannot recall. She's just always kind, always happy, always just to all the people. It's obviously something that she enjoys, and I thanked her for it personally. And after that, she gives me a badge. It's not always the same one. There's a couple of them. They're both nice, but this one is has been my regular. I think she calls herself a navigator, and damn it, I'm so sorry I can't recall your name off the top of my head. I then go have a seat and wait with the other patients. Recently, I've met a patient whose name I also forget, who's also from Mount Vernon, and he's about 4 weeks into the treatment, further down the line than me. And in some respects, he gives me an opportunity to see the future of my own treatment. It's actually, he's got the same squamous cell carcinoma, HPV positive, on the tonsil, uses the same 3 doctors that I'm using, and getting almost the same treatment. He's getting 3 doses of chemo instead of 1 every week, the way I am, every 3 weeks instead of 1 every week, the way I am. His side of his throat was beet red, and I asked him about that because I figured I had that on my future. I says, how does your mouth feel? And he said, my mouth feels like it's on fire, literally on fire. It's hard for him to talk, so I've got that ahead of me. My mouth's going to feel like it's on fire. I don't see any getting around that based on my conversation with him. And he said, but it'll be about 4 weeks before that happens, so I'm only 1 week in. I still feel very good. So they called my name. It was my turn. In fact, I come after him, and I go into a waiting room. I put on a robe, take off my shirt. I leave my pants and shoes on. From there, I go into a little waiting area, and from there into the actual radiation room. Okay, this is my first day. I get my proton therapy and my chemotherapy today. Proton is first. This is my room. I get to wear my pants. Everything from the top is off. They'll be putting a mask on top of me as part of this process. Got my own locker. This is my room for the duration. All right, coming out of that room, I was told to come in here. This will be the waiting room where I wait to be called. Whoever pops through that door is going to be taking me. Now that man just got his done. I saw him in the waiting room. And so the procedure couldn't have been more than just 5 minutes or so, because he's leaving. So that part doesn't take long. The room is, there's 3 or 4 people in there that have obviously done this a million times. There's a hard metal, it looks like a metal bench that they put a little bit of padding on for me. I lay down on the bench. I tuck my head in this little V-shaped padding. They want to make sure that I'm just the right distance up, back, and so on. Once they get me into place, they use an electric motor of some kind, a handheld, that has a wire to the ceiling that controls the bench, and they position that bench where it needs to be in front of the proton radiation machine. The machine itself, all I get to see of the machine is a big, round, dinner plate looking device that's glass in the front, almost like it looks like a porthole, but it's got a column attached to it. And I can see my reflection in it if I look up it. And and the radiation evidently comes out of that. And there's a big machine in the background, very big machine, lots of magnets that separate protons, and they spin around at ridiculous speeds, and they come out that hole in some kind of a controlled way directed at me. Once I'm on the bench and where they want me to be, they put my mouthpiece in. It's a white, basically it's a tongue separator and something to clinch on with my teeth. And they stick that in my mouth. I put my tongue on the other side of it. The idea is so that I guess they don't radiate my tongue. And talking to this other fellow, he told me that his tongue burned until he started holding it way over to the other side. Even with that separator, it was getting him. And so you can be sure that every time I've gotten this done, I held my tongue way far to the other side of my mouth as possible. Then they snap the mask on that I had been fitted for previously. They bring that in. It's got a little hole where my mouth goes. They put it over my face and my shoulders, and you can hear them. They feel them snapping them back. They've got to pull my shoulders down and really snap me tightly into place so that I can't move anything. And so I just, once again, just like the fitting, I can't talk, I can't move, and I don't want to move, because if you're in the middle of radiation and it moves, you're getting something that they didn't intend to get. So I stay extremely still. They let me know that I'll hear a couple of bells before the radiation starts. That's the all clear for everybody to get out of the room. So it's very quiet. I can hear their footsteps. I can hear them leaving. Sometimes shortly after that, I hear the first bell. Sometimes there's still somebody scurrying around that gets out of the room. And then I hear the second bell. And boy, it's quiet as a mouse in there after the second bell. It's just me in the room and the radiation machine. And it's as though the sound that you hear is nothing, it's silent, but then after a little bit you hear what sounds like a gurgling sound. So you got the two bells, we got a little bit of a delay, we got that gurgling sound. Whatever that is, that must be the sound of the radiation itself doing whatever it's doing. And it's coming from the machine, not my head, to be clear. And then after the radiation is finished, it's maybe about 5 minutes there, this whole machine, it's like a gun turret in a tank. The whole thing turns in a different, it goes higher. So first it's positioned aiming in here, and the second time the turret, it rotates up into the ceiling, and then it's pointed in a more, remember I'm laying down, so then it's pointed more directly at my face instead of at the side of my neck, presumably to get both the lymph nodes and the tumor itself. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. So then I wait, and again I hear the gurgling. I hear the gurgling sounds, and I can't remember if I hear bells a second time or not now. But I hear the gurgling sounds. No pain associated with it. No feeling at all associated with it. And then it's over, and the people come back in the room, and they start unsnapping me, and they get off the table. And I get off the table, and all is well. So that is, eyes closed, my best memory of that entire event. And I've been through it 5 times now, so I know what it's like. I'm told that the radiation, as well as the chemo, are both cumulative. I equate it to a compound interest rate. It's going to just, get bigger and bigger and bigger over time, and it's cumulative. And so the reality is, I'm told that at the end of this entire treatment, which is 7 weeks away, that the last week is actually the worst week. That this stuff is cooking, presumably on some level, cumulatively, right up until that week after your treatment. It's the worst that you'll feel. And then it starts to come down after that, but it's months before you're normal again. So, as good as I feel right now, I know it's a bit of an illusion. So the physicist at Fred Hutch provided me some of these scans, which were interesting. Shows you a little bit about how the radiation is applied. It's not real clear in some of these because it's a complicated process that has to do with how strong and in what areas and over from what direction and so on. So I've created a simplified version. So it's a little Charlie Brownish, but it'll get the message across. So at the bottom we see dosage levels: 70 gray, abbreviated GY, 60 gray, and 54 gray. And you see the 70 gray is focused on the tumor and the lymph node, the 60 on nearby tissue, and the 54 at other risk areas, which include the neck. The arrow in the top right corner, number 1 and number 2, are actually the directions that they reposition this big machine. When I say, you know, the turret is moving from one area to another and the bells go off a second time, they've moved it and they've aimed in from a different direction, and that kind of gives you an idea of the blast zone. Now, if this were conventional radiation, I believe it would be going through my whole head. There's no way to control it. But with proton therapy, they can control the exit area or the blast radius in a way that they can't otherwise. Now, this pink oval that you see here represents my tongue. And what that's indicating is that I personally hold it far to the left of center when I know they're about to do the radiation, because my friend Jonathan, who's a cancer patient going before me, has told me it cooks his tongue. He learned to hold it to the left. It made a difference, so I'm doing that from the very beginning. Now here's a much better AI generated image from the side view that gives you an idea of how that looks. And I don't know if this is entirely accurate. It's as close as I was willing to iterate, but it shows you once again the blast zone gets a little weaker with the radiation as it moves out, but it still encompasses a much wider area than just the tumor. And again, it controls it so that it doesn't go all the way through my head like a conventional radiation would. That is the radiation experience. So hope you enjoyed that front row seat. The next video will share with you the chemo experience, and the fact is both of those came on the very same day, but I decided to separate them into 2 different videos because it was getting a little long. We'll talk to you later. Thanks for honoring me by watching these videos, and I hope if you're dealing with these kinds of things that it helps you in your own journey. Bye-bye.